Most cyber attacks do not begin with malware. They begin with observation. Long before ransomware encrypts servers or confidential files appear online, attackers are already inside the environment studying employees, infrastructure, and security gaps. Modern cyber attacks are carefully staged operations designed to remain invisible for as long as possible. A single phishing email, a leaked credential, or an exposed VPN service can become the first crack in an enterprise network. From there, attackers escalate privileges, disable defenses, move laterally, and quietly prepare for impact. By the time defenders notice suspicious activity, the attack may already be entering its final phase. In this investigation, we will break down the complete lifecycle of a modern cyber attack. From reconnaissance and phishing to malware deployment, persistence, lateral movement, ransomware operations, and AI-driven threats, we will examine how attackers infiltrate enterprise networks and how defenders attempt to stop them using SIEM, EDR, threat hunting, and zero-trust security strategies. Reconnaissance is the silent beginning of almost every modern cyber attack. Before malware is deployed or credentials are stolen, attackers spend time studying the target organization from the outside. They collect information from public sources including employees' social media profiles, leaked credential databases, GitHub repositories, DNS records, cloud infrastructure metadata, and company websites. This process is known as OSINT, or open source intelligence gathering. Attackers analyze employee roles, identify external vendors, discover internet-facing systems, and map the enterprise attack surface in detail. In many real-world breaches, threat actors discover forgotten development servers, exposed APIs, or reused credentials during this phase. The goal is simple: reduce uncertainty before entering the environment. Sophisticated ransomware groups often spend weeks building target profiles before launching phishing campaigns. Defenders attempt to counter this through attack surface management, external asset monitoring, credential leak detection, and threat intelligence operations. Reconnaissance may appear passive, but it is one of the most critical stages of the cyber kill chain because it shapes every step that follows. Once reconnaissance is complete, attackers move into initial access operations. Phishing remains one of the most successful techniques because it targets human trust instead of technical vulnerabilities alone. Modern phishing campaigns are highly personalized. Threat actors impersonate executives, IT administrators, cloud providers, or business partners using realistic emails and cloned authentication portals. Victims unknowingly submit usernames, passwords, and even multi-factor authentication codes. More advanced attackers bypass MFA entirely by stealing active session tokens or abusing identity federation systems. In enterprise environments, attackers may also exploit exposed VPN portals or vulnerable public-facing applications to gain entry. Once access is achieved, the attacker's first priority is stability. They attempt to maintain reliable access while avoiding detection from EDR platforms and identity monitoring systems. Defenders rely on email security gateways, user awareness training, behavioral analytics, and zero-trust architectures to reduce initial compromise risks. However, modern phishing campaigns increasingly use AI-generated content and deepfake social engineering, making detection far more difficult than traditional spam-based attacks. After initial access is secured, malware becomes the mechanism that expands the intrusion. Modern malware is no longer simple destructive code. It is modular, adaptive, and designed to survive inside enterprise environments for extended periods. Attackers deploy loaders, remote access trojans, credential stealers, or ransomware preparation tools depending on their objectives. Persistence mechanisms are immediately established so the attacker can maintain access even after reboots or password changes. Malware may abuse scheduled tasks, startup services, registry modifications, or legitimate administrative tools to remain hidden. Command and control channels allow attackers to remotely issue instructions while blending into normal encrypted network traffic. Many advanced malware families are specifically engineered to evade EDR detection through memory-based execution, obfuscation, or legitimate process abuse. Defenders attempt to identify these threats using behavioral telemetry, anomaly detection, endpoint monitoring, and threat hunting operations. In many modern attacks, malware is not deployed immediately after compromise. Threat actors often wait silently, collecting intelligence and preparing the environment before escalating their operations. Privilege escalation transforms a compromised system into a dangerous enterprise-wide security incident. Once attackers establish a foothold, they begin targeting identity systems, administrative privileges, and authentication infrastructure. The objective is to move from ordinary user access to high-level control across the environment. Threat actors may abuse misconfigured permissions, stolen tokens, cached credentials, or insecure authentication mechanisms to elevate privileges. Credential dumping techniques target memory locations where authentication data is temporarily stored, while identity attacks focus on Active Directory and cloud identity providers. In modern enterprise breaches, domain controllers become extremely valuable because they provide centralized access to users, systems, and security policies. Once administrative privileges are achieved, attackers gain the ability to disable security tools, create persistence accounts, and move laterally across critical infrastructure. Defenders attempt to limit privilege escalation risks through least privilege enforcement, privileged access management, identity segmentation, and behavioral monitoring. However, attackers increasingly exploit legitimate administrative tools to avoid detection, making privilege escalation one of the most dangerous phases of the attack lifecycle. Lateral movement is where a cyber intrusion evolves into a full-scale enterprise compromise. After obtaining elevated privileges, attackers begin exploring internal systems, identifying critical servers, backup infrastructure, and sensitive data repositories. Instead of deploying ransomware immediately, sophisticated threat actors move carefully through the network while blending into legitimate administrative activity. Remote management protocols, shared credentials, and trusted internal communication channels are frequently abused to pivot between systems. Attackers often disable logging, weaken monitoring visibility, or tamper with security policies to reduce detection risks. In large enterprise environments, this phase can continue for days or even weeks. Defenders rely heavily on SIEM telemetry, EDR analytics, network segmentation, and threat hunting operations to identify unusual lateral movement behavior. Behavioral anomalies such as abnormal authentication patterns, suspicious remote access activity, or unexpected privilege changes often become the first indicators of compromise. Zero-trust architectures attempt to limit attacker mobility by reducing implicit trust relationships inside the network. The battle during lateral movement becomes a race between attacker stealth and defender visibility. Modern blue team operations are built around visibility, detection, and rapid response. Once attackers begin moving inside the environment, defenders attempt to reconstruct the intrusion using SIEM correlation engines, EDR telemetry, endpoint logs, and threat intelligence indicators. Threat hunting teams proactively search for suspicious behavior patterns instead of waiting for automated alerts alone. They analyze authentication anomalies, unusual PowerShell activity, unexpected process execution chains, and hidden persistence mechanisms. Modern ransomware groups frequently attempt to disable backup systems and security tooling before launching encryption operations, so defenders focus heavily on early containment. Incident response teams isolate affected systems, revoke compromised credentials, and investigate attacker movement paths across the environment. The challenge is that advanced threat actors increasingly use legitimate administrative tools and encrypted communication channels, making malicious behavior difficult to distinguish from normal enterprise operations. This is why modern cybersecurity strategies prioritize behavioral analytics, zero-trust security, cloud visibility, and AI-assisted detection systems. In many cases, the success of a defense operation depends entirely on how quickly defenders recognize subtle indicators before attackers reach their final objectives. Ransomware and data exfiltration represent the final and most destructive phase of many modern cyber attacks. By this stage, attackers already understand the environment, control privileged systems, and possess access to sensitive enterprise data. Instead of encrypting systems immediately, modern ransomware groups often steal confidential information first. This strategy increases pressure on victims because attackers can threaten public data leaks even if backups are restored successfully. Exfiltration channels may use encrypted cloud storage services, hidden outbound traffic, or legitimate remote synchronization tools to avoid detection. Once critical data is secured, ransomware deployment begins. Backup systems, recovery infrastructure, and security tooling are frequently targeted first to maximize operational disruption. Encryption operations then spread rapidly across servers and endpoints. Defenders attempt to detect unusual outbound traffic, abnormal file access behavior, and suspicious encryption patterns before the attack reaches full impact. Lessons from real-world incidents have shown that preparation matters more than reaction. Network segmentation, offline backups, threat hunting, and rapid containment strategies are often the only factors separating recovery from catastrophic enterprise shutdown. Artificial intelligence is transforming both offensive and defensive cybersecurity operations. Attackers are now using AI to generate highly convincing phishing campaigns, automate reconnaissance tasks, and create adaptive malware capable of changing behavior dynamically. Deepfake voice and video attacks are already being used in enterprise fraud and social engineering operations. Autonomous malware systems may eventually make detection significantly harder because they can react to defensive controls in real time. At the same time, defenders are rapidly integrating AI into threat detection and incident response workflows. AI-assisted SOC platforms analyze enormous volumes of telemetry data, identify anomalies faster, and help security teams prioritize threats more efficiently. Cloud-native security architectures are also evolving to support increasingly distributed environments where traditional perimeter defenses no longer exist. In the future, cybersecurity may become a continuous battle between intelligent offensive systems and intelligent defensive systems. Organizations that fail to adapt to AI-driven threats, identity-centric attacks, and cloud-scale visibility challenges may struggle to defend modern digital infrastructure against increasingly automated cyber warfare operations. Modern cyber attacks are not isolated hacking events. They are carefully planned operations executed across multiple interconnected stages. Attackers begin with reconnaissance, gathering intelligence, and identifying weaknesses before a single malicious action occurs. Initial access follows through phishing campaigns, exposed infrastructure, or stolen credentials. Malware deployment and persistence mechanisms allow attackers to remain hidden inside enterprise environments while privilege escalation expands their control over critical systems. Lateral movement then transforms a localized compromise into a network-wide security incident. Finally, ransomware deployment and data exfiltration maximize operational and financial impact against the victim organization. Defenders face a difficult challenge because modern attackers increasingly blend malicious behavior into legitimate enterprise activity. Traditional security tools alone are no longer enough. Effective defense now depends on visibility, behavioral analytics, threat hunting, zero-trust architectures, and rapid incident response capabilities. Understanding the attack lifecycle is critical because every phase creates opportunities for detection and containment. In cybersecurity, the difference between a minor intrusion and a catastrophic breach often depends on whether defenders recognize attacker behavior before the final stage begins. The future of cybersecurity will be shaped by automation, artificial intelligence, cloud-native infrastructure, and identity-centric security models. AI-generated phishing campaigns are already becoming more realistic and scalable than traditional social engineering attacks. Autonomous malware may soon adapt dynamically to defensive controls, changing behavior in real time to evade detection systems. At the same time, defenders are rapidly deploying AI-assisted SOC platforms capable of analyzing billions of security events faster than human analysts alone. Zero-trust architectures will continue replacing traditional perimeter-based security models as organizations move toward hybrid and cloud-first environments. Quantum computing also introduces long-term concerns for encryption and cryptographic security, potentially forcing major changes across enterprise infrastructure. The future cyber battlefield will likely become an ongoing conflict between intelligent offensive systems and intelligent defensive systems. Organizations that prioritize visibility, behavioral analytics, identity protection, cloud monitoring, and adaptive response capabilities will be better positioned to survive increasingly automated cyber warfare operations. Modern cyber warfare evolves every day. Attackers innovate constantly, and defenders race to adapt before the next breach unfolds. Subscribe for cinematic cybersecurity investigations, real-world attack breakdowns, malware analysis, and advanced threat hunting content designed for serious cybersecurity enthusiasts and professionals.